Hello, my name's Christy Leet and welcome to our PID Nationwide Whitsunday webinar. It's actually our first one that we've ever done, so thank you for attending tonight. I'm lucky enough as a father to be here with my son, Ethan Leet. G'day, Ethan.
How you going?
Good, thank you. Not looking too nervous. So folks, I think we've billed it tonight as a 15 minutes to change your life, Ethan, is that right?
That's right.
So we're here tonight to talk to you about getting into property ownership. We're obviously real estate agents, but equally as importantly, or more importantly, we have property ourselves. Ethan's just become a first home buyer, so he's going to talk to you tonight about his experience, and I'm going to share with you some of the tips and some of the ways to get into the property market. So that's about our agenda tonight.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So folks, just a couple of things before we start. Firstly, if you have any questions, there's a little box that you can type your question in, and if you just type that in, Lindy will read that question out at the very end and we'll answer that question for you. So any questions you have, this time is really about you, so any questions that you have, please ask them. And secondly, just to pay you the courtesy of letting you know that we are recording tonight and your voice won't be on there, so rest comfortably, and we'll have this on our internet site and our website for future use. So PRD stands for Property Research and Development, and I guess our research is something that we spend a lot of time and a lot of money on, and our research really shows that now is arguably the best time in 10 years to get into the property market. So prices are back to the 2004 level, and not only that, interest rates are very, very low and property is very, very affordable. PRD talks about their property clock, so the property clock talks about the cycles in the market. We're either at the top of the market when prices are roaring along, or the market's declining as it moves from 12 to 6 as the cycle comes down to 6 is very much the bottom of the market that we've all been through, where there's many, many, many more sellers than buyers. And then it starts to come up again and move towards 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So PRD have just put out their economic property clock saying that the Whitsunday marketplace is at 6:30, so just past the very bottom and just starting to rise upwards, so a great time. So Ethan, you've recently joined the property market?
Yeah, I have. Last year I was 19, about to go travelling through Europe, and I got a call saying that I could purchase my own home. Now I thought it was a toss-up between purchasing my own home or going travelling. I was lucky to do both, as I didn't need a deposit. So I got back from Europe, and it was a lot of hard work. Lots of trips to the libraries, photocopying documents at 50 cents a page. A lot of hard work, but at the end of the day, I now own my own home, my own 4-bedroom home, complete down to a dishwasher and turf. And I also got equity in that.
Okay, so when you say you have equity in that, what does that mean?
So equity's what you
Or
purchase.
how much equity do you think you have in that?
So about over $40,000.
Okay. Yeah.
And equity is what you purchase the property for and the difference of what it's valued at, and that's equity.
Okay, so what you paid for it and what it's now worth.
Correct. Yeah.
So I guess if I was sitting out there as most people, I'd probably say, well, you're the son of the person who owns the business. So did you get an exceptionally good buy, or did other people buy at the same price? Or
Other people had bought at the same price as well.
yeah, okay, yeah. So folks, what we're going to talk to you about over the next couple of minutes is a little package, I guess, put out. We're working in conjunction with Mortgage Choice, and it's a package that 3 people in Mandara Rise have taken advantage of. There's 3 houses, I think, under construction currently at Whitsunday Bay. There's Ethan and a couple of other people in our office in addition to that have taken advantage of it as well, which simply means that you can get into the property market, you can be gifted a deposit, the banks will take that deposit into account, and after you satisfy a couple of criteria, you can then get into your own house. So perhaps if we just run through the criteria for you, and there's 6 things, and they're pretty easy to get through, and probably the most important thing is think about what Ethan just said, and all the other 10 people have said that we have helped into their own homes, is they didn't really know that they could get into their own property. Okay, so if you're sitting there tonight thinking, well, I can't afford this, or I'll never get a loan, don't make that mistake, because that may not necessarily be the case. So the 6 things to run through, and assuming you're interested after tonight, we'll send these to you, or Ethan will send these to you. First of all, you need to be a tenant renting through a real estate agency. Okay, so the reason you need to do that is because the bank that we've got a relationship with wants to see a proof of savings, and they'll take your rental payments, your regular rental payments, as proof of savings. So providing you've been a tenant through a real estate agency and that real estate agency gives you a good rental reference, that's the first box ticked. Secondly, you have to be employed for 6 months by the same employer. So once again, you need a letter from your employer, probably part of that 50-cent photocopy that Ethan had to do down at the library. Number 3, this is not set in concrete, but number 3 is ideally you should be a first home buyer. Okay, so because you get a $15,000 grant towards the property, and that just helps you with the deposit. Not out of the question if you're not a first home buyer. We've done a couple that haven't been first home buyers. It just helps a little bit if you are a first home buyer. The big one, number 4, no bad credit history, or if you do have a bad credit history, that time has passed. And I think, Ethan, the process from tonight is simply to fill out a 4-page document, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So it's a 4-page document you'll fill out and get back to PRD. We'll then send that off to Mortgage Choice, and usually that day we'll get a response with how much your capacity to borrow is.
Okay, so if you've got any credit history things that the bank should know about, that's really the time to put it down. Okay, so if you've missed making a phone bill payment and Telstra is taking you to a small debts type claim, that's been one that's popped up a few times, or anything like that, you missed some car payments or something, just put it down, because our mortgage brokers will help you work through that process. So as long as they know, they'll help you work through it. Number 5 is a combined gross income for the products that we've got tonight of $75,000. So if you're a husband and wife, a partner, or a single person, if you have a combined gross income, so before tax, of $75,000, you'll qualify. And if you're an Australian citizen. Okay, so they're the 6 things. You've been a tenant of a real estate agency, you've had a job for 6 months, ideally you're a first home buyer, you've got a good credit history, $75,000 combined income. I can tell you Ethan didn't have that, so not everything's cast in stone. And last but not least, yes, now he's doing pretty well, an Australian citizen. So if you have all 6 of those, it'll be a very easy process. If 1 or 2 of those are missing, we'll just need to do a little bit more work. So that's pretty well how
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I guess we're really keen for people to enter the market. I mean, we're in property, but equally so, we just think it's just such a life-changing experience. And we've billed tonight as 15 minutes to change your life, and we've been going for 7 odd minutes. So for the next 8 minutes, why would you enter into the property market? Why would you, in fact, become an owner of your first house? There's lots of reasons for that. We have one of our property managers who's just building their first home, and we were talking about her estate the other day. Without being particular, it was really joyous to see her, and she's a beautiful lady. When we spoke about her estate, and her house will be the first home finished in that estate, just how keen and enthusiastic and excited she was, saying that her house will be finished in 2 weeks. And just such a wonderful thing that this lady and her husband are experiencing their first home. I've got someone who works for me, Rob Taylor, who most of you probably know of, has worked with me for 13 years, and he still says, well, I'm an employee, and what does an employee mean? That means that your boss can change the conditions. Your boss can say whether you come to work or not come to work. You can't get up in the morning, generally speaking, and say, look, it's a good day like today, a beautiful day, I want to go fishing. Or your pay rate can change, or you're not in control of your own destiny. And I think if you can get into your own home, it's a little bit like that. You take the landlord or your boss right out of the equation. So your landlord today can come in and they can change the rent. Okay, and they will. As soon as the market changes, your rent will change. So as soon as your lease changes, as soon as your lease ends, your rent will change. And similarly to the house market, the rental market's also at the bottom of the market too, so rents will rise. You can invest in your own property and rents will stay the same. Your payments will stay the same for up to 5 years. You can fix, I think you said today, Ethan?
Yeah, that's right. For the first 5 years you can fix
4.75, 4.85?
4.59.
4.59. So you can fix your rental payments, you can fix your payments for 5 years for 4.59%.
That's right.
So when Ethan's mother and I first bought our house, we had to find a 20% deposit. So not like tonight where it was no deposit. Had to find a 20% deposit, so we had to borrow from friends. Because look, you can't save a 20% deposit, it's almost impossible. You had to borrow from friends, you had to go and get credit cards at all the different banks, and you had to beg, borrow and steal to get the 20% deposit. But we got in at 17%. 17% back in the late 80s. And here we are tonight saying 4.59 fixed for 5 years. So you know exactly where you're going week after week after week for 5 years. And Ethan, I think you said today for a 4-bedroom home, the repayments were $472 a week.
That's right.
Yeah. So for a 4-bedroom home, brand new, and what would be included in that, Ethan?
But everything's included, so down to dishwasher, turf, fences, even blinds. You've also got an aircon in your master bedroom and in your living room.
Right, okay, yeah, good. All right, so everything's included. If you're mechanically dormant or not much of a house husband like me, you can just move straight in.
Just move straight in.
And your payments are very, very similar to your rent. So the first reason to really think about your own property is you control your own destiny. Okay. The second reason is your payments don't change. You can fix them for as long as you want. The third reason is, and this is a really important one, folks, is that you will have immediate equity. Okay, immediate equity, like Ethan has, $40,000. So for this to work, the property has to be valued at more than you pay for it. So the homes that we have, like we have a 3-bedroom home for $375,000, that needs to value at a little bit more than $400,000 for you to be eligible to get the finance. Okay, so that just goes to show, it shows you two things, or it does two things for you. Firstly, it shows that you're not paying too much for the property. In fact, you're paying less than the market price for the property because you're being gifted some money, and we'll explain how that works shortly. And secondly, it gives you that immediate equity. In Ethan's case, $40,000, $25,000 to $40,000. And you're a young fellow, Ethan. How long had you saved $40,000 before that time?
Hadn't saved 5 before, let alone 40.
Yeah. And look, that's just the reality, isn't it? I mean, the opportunity to go and save $25,000 or $40,000 is almost non-existent for most people. So that's after tax. Okay, cold hard money, cash, equity in a property that you've paid tax on, because when it's in your own home, you don't have to pay tax on it. It's just, it is life changing. So immediately you get some equity in your property. So on the products, Ethan, you've got 3-bedroom homes and 4-bedroom homes.
Yeah, that's right.
And prices range from $375, I think you said, to just under $400,000.
That's right. $375 for the 3-bed and $399 for the 4-bed.
4-bed, yeah. And don't forget, folks, if you've got any questions, I'm not 100% sure how this works because this is our first one, but I think if you just type in the panel, our Lindy will get those questions and she'll read those out. I think at the end is our plan. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask them. So, Ethan, the process would be what if people have some interest?
First, you just give us a call if you have any more questions.
Yeah.
Next step would be to fill out the mortgage choice form, the 4-page document.
Yeah.
And we'll get that off to the financier.
Yeah.
Then usually that day, and if not the next day,
yeah,
we'll have your capacity worked out.
Yeah.
And from there we can find the right house on the right block of land that suits you,
right,
and then get you into your dream home.
Yeah. So that's a really important thing. So just run through that last bit. So first of all, find out what your capacity is, and
Yeah,
then
that's
go
right.
shopping after that time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's just like you won't go out and buy a Mercedes if you can only get a Commodore.
Yeah.
You've got to find out what you can borrow first, and then it saves time in the long run.
Yeah. And in this sort of market, people might be pleasantly surprised and might find out that they can buy a Commodore instead of a Camry, perhaps. So
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it's very, very affordable to get into the market. So last but not least, folks, the people who do take advantage of this, contact Ethan, arrange your forms. They'll be treated with confidence. We'll send those off to Mortgage Choice. Mortgage Choice will come back fairly quickly and say yes or no. If they say no, the important thing is they'll give you a plan on how to move that no to a yes. Okay. So if you've got a bad credit history, and look, I've had a bad credit history, and lots of people have had a bad credit history. If you've got a bad credit history, they'll work with you to change that history, okay, or whatever it might be. If you've been a first home buyer before, if you've already owned your own property, you're not eligible for the grant, they'll help you overcome that gap as well. So fill your form in. Just Lindy with our first question. Thank you, that's good. Fill your form in, I didn't see that, and they will help you on your plan. They'll come back and they'll advise you where you can shop. Then if you go and choose your property and your house, the process is really simple. It's a pretty exciting time of year to be talking about it from here. So the process is you just simply enter into a document, a normal Real Estate Institute of Queensland document, that is subject to finance. Okay, so that document and your building contract are both subject to finance. So those two things are pending Mortgage Choice getting your formal approval. Your formal approval is 100% wrapped around your property being valued at least 10% more than you pay for it. Okay, that's such an important part. Your finance approval is wrapped around your property being valued at more than 10% more than you pay for it. So that's your immediate equity, which is such a huge thing. When you get all those ticked off, you'll settle on a block of land, so you'll own your own block of land. You'll then start your building process. It's about a 12-week process. And if you add all of that up, you can be in your own, very own home prior to Christmas. And what a wonderful Christmas present that would be. So our very first question is, I'm a first home buyer, are there any other costs I should be mindful of? Do you have any comment on that, Ethan?
Look, the prices we quoted before are complete from your land and your build contract.
Yep.
And the only additional cost would be a solicitor fee I can think of.
Yep. Yeah, so if you're a first home buyer, you're stamp duty exempt, which is good, so it's a good thing to take advantage of. So on a $400,000 property, if you're an investor, stamp duty is about 3% off the top of my head. Got a solicitor in the room, is that right? So that'd be $12,000 you'd have to pay. So if you're a first home buyer, you save that another $12,000, so you're exempt on that $12,000. And Mortgage Choice will help you wrap some of those solicitor fees and loan fees into the loan, and so you don't have any out-of-pocket expenses. So I think the question was, do we need to be mindful of any costs? The only thing you really need to be mindful of is you'll need to make payments along the way. So you'll need to make some land payments, and I think they're about $300 per month for your block of land along the way. And then as your builder builds over that 12-week period, you'll also need to make payments on your loan as that progressively gets drawn down. So when they do the slab, there'll be a payment to the builder for the slab, so your loan will increase from the block of land to a little bit bigger to the slab, and then the roof goes on, and then the walls go on. So you'll probably need, in addition to your rent, to make about $2,000 extra payments during that process. So you just need to be mindful of that during the time. So I think that answers that question. So our Lindy's gone back to her little area, so if we have any other questions, bring those in. Lindy, have we missed anything, Ethan, that you think we should be covering?
Look, I don't think so.
Yeah, okay. So I think the last thing I'd like to add is, at the very, very least, find out what your options are. Okay, so find out what your options are. Your options, you find that out simply by working on that 4-page document. That will take
10-15 minutes.
Yeah, okay. If you're slow like me, it takes half an hour. So spend 20 minutes, half an hour to complete this 4-page document, send it down to Mortgage Choice, and they'll come back to you with a range in which you can shop. Okay, it's then absolutely your choice whether you choose to go shopping or not. So there's no obligation. They can come back and say, yes, look, you're eligible for a $400,000 loan or a $472 a week loan. Whether you choose to take advantage of that or not is totally up to you. But at least you know what your options are. So I think that's what I would do at the very, very least. Is Lindy coming back in with more questions?
No more questions for us tonight.
No more questions tonight. So folks, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of our very, very first webinar. We're actually webinaring our next option, which is 31st of August. So it'll be an interesting process. We've never video streamed an option before, so for those of you interested, you're welcome to come along and do that. Ethan's contact details, simply ethanlead@prd.com.au.
Yep, that's right.
Or your mobile is
0400 939 556.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, Ethan, and thanks for sharing your experience. Genuine experiences from Ethan, folks, and we'd love you to have the same experiences. And thank you for joining us tonight, and good night.